Hello, everyone. I think we've given enough time for everyone to join. So thank you for being here today for L2TMedia and Amazon webinar on leveraging first-party data with Amazon ads. This session is being recorded, so if you need to leave early or want to review any part of it, you can watch the recording later. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat at any time. They will only be visible to the host, but we'll do our best to answer them. And to get started, I will introduce our presenters. My name is Dina Denman. I am the Director of Sales here at L2TMedia. And on behalf of Amazon, we have Marty and Amber joining us. Quick agenda for today: the power of Amazon, dealer strategy and audience targeting, measurement and attribution, case study, and Q&A. I'm going to hand over the presentation to Marty to talk about the power of Amazon.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me okay?
We sure can.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. This is our NADA redo, so I apologize for not having beads to throw at the camera and pretend we're all in New Orleans together. And none of us have aged at all since that week, spending most of it in airports, planes, trains, and automobiles. So for those of you who made it to NADA and came by, thanks again for coming to say hi. And we're glad to be online with all of you today. So we are going to talk a little bit today about how Amazon is pushing big into the video space. Just making sure we've got slides up and you can see it. Good. Okay. All right. Slide. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So we are at a time in history when we've reached that point now where we can say that most TV viewers have either cut cable or they've never actually had cable, linear cable, the way that a lot of us grew up having it pumped into our homes. So we're at a point in history now where over 60% of all people viewing TV are doing so through streaming and through different apps and devices. So connected TV is here to stay. And in the next 4 years, we're going to see 75% of the population hit that mark. So that's what that chart is illustrating to you on the right of the slide there. But what we have certainly come to be a part of is that viewing space at Amazon when it comes to delivering your messages to dealers or to your customers. We have more than 223 million active monthly shoppers on the Amazon platform. So across the Prime and just Amazon landscape in general, of which 175 million of those folks are seeing streaming TV ads. So we know that 80% of viewers who are exposed to streaming TV ads went on to browse related products on Amazon. So we've done a lot of studying when it comes to who's being impacted by those ads. And certainly the TV headlines have followed suit. The media said back in early 2024 that Amazon's coming to eat up the TV universe. Well, it's started to happen, and we aren't slowing down or stopping anytime soon. And so we have even more TV content planned for 2025, which we'll get to in just a minute. The next slide, though, talks about really the result of what we'll call kind of a tipping point in Amazon's history. In January of 2024, Prime Video, which was formerly a subscription-based viewing platform, overnight became the biggest ad-supported streaming platform in the market. So we reach an estimated of 115 million ad-supported viewers in the US each month. And that right now is more than any other ad-supported streaming service. And so we're going to talk more about some of those great shows and content that your family might be consuming in just a minute. The next slide, though, talks a little bit about our Amazon Publisher Network. So beyond our owned and operated properties that you're familiar with being part of the Amazon name, so Prime Video, Amazon Alexa, all of our shopping website portals, and some of the things that you know as Amazon, we have established the Amazon Publisher Direct Network with exclusive agreements with some of the biggest streaming names out there. So when you think of Disney, Paramount, Peacock, Fox Sports, it's a myriad of publishers that make up APB's meaningful scale, and we're able to reach over 1 billion users across the internet. And this is interesting because when you think about Amazon's value proposition, we are out to establish the most efficiency for all of our customers. That includes all of our advertisers. And so what we've been able to do is negotiate really meaningful, scaled networking for purchasing ads across what's typically a very opaque, priced out supply chain. And so we've been able to add increased efficiencies and transparencies in this otherwise very opaque supply world when it comes to reaching more eyeballs on the internet. So I thought that that point was really worth repeating and something that is very unique to Amazon in terms of our scale and what we've been able to do in establishing these partnerships outside of just what's owned and operated directly by Amazon. All right, that next slide. So this is just another way that we are able to connect with our customers wherever they are in their day, because we are deeply ingrained with our customers in their everyday lives. If you are a big Prime user, I know I'm a super user even prior to working for the company. Entertainment is now an integral part of our day. So whether it's waking up with Alexa, getting the weather, streaming Amazon Music with your family or throughout your workday, building your cart on Amazon or Whole Foods or Amazon Fresh throughout the workday as well, making sure we can feed everyone, right? And then watching our shows or some of the live sports that have now become a big tentpole as part of our content. So we are working with all of our brands and dealers to bring them along in this journey, to bring these consumer insights, which come with billions of signals on our platforms, to really help turn your advertising into relevant moments in our customers' daily lives. So with all these billions of signals, moving on to the next one, we need to take that and then convert it into some great exclusive partnerships and content. So let's take a look at just our 2025-26 TV programming slate for just a second, Dina. A big part of Amazon's studio strategy is to be a home where Hollywood talent can harbor some of their creativity. So maybe you're familiar with the household names of Reese Witherspoon, Will Ferrell. They're launching a new rom-com called You're Cordially Invited. We're also working on another spin-off with Reese Witherspoon's production house. And so you'll see a show called L, which is the prequel to Legally Blonde, which is a famous movie when I was growing up. You'll see famous names like Nicole Kidman, Michelle Pfeiffer, Mark Wahlberg, and some of your favorite Amazon Prime programs coming back for season 3, like Reacher. My personal favorite is Terminal List. I don't know if anyone's seen Terminal List, but Chris Pratt just announced on his social media that they're beginning filming soon for season 2. So I'm really excited about that. My colleague's favorite is Beast Games. He watches it with his kids who are ages 9 and 11. So just in case you're looking for some family fun, there's just so much content coming out on Prime Video. And again, we put the pedal to the metal in terms of content creation. We're not slowing down anytime soon. We are really committed to making great content so that we have a great place for all of our advertisers, obviously, to reach their customers. The next real exclusive partnership slide talks about our commitment to professional sports, excuse me. So sitting at the center of our live US portfolio at this point is Thursday Night Football, which really became that tentpole for Prime. And so this just wrapped up its 3rd season with an exclusive wildcard playoff game, which had record viewership. And so we continue to invest in live sports, and we're thrilled to launch our 11-year global partnership with the NBA starting this October. We're also gearing up for exclusive coverage of 5 upcoming NASCAR events, and that's going to be starting on Memorial Day weekend with the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte, which is super interesting for our automotive clients. The WNBA returns with its 5th season on Prime, along with the National Women's Soccer League. So you'll see also a lot of attention to women's sports, which I think is super important when you're talking about reaching that automotive buyer and shopper, which we know for a lot of brands highly indexes as women. And so demonstrating our commitment to women's sports, again, is just one of those really awesome moments for Amazon as we continue to move forward into bringing you more sports opportunities. And so most of these are available at the at the national level, but you'll see some of the regional things in the corner there. New York Yankees baseball, we have some Seattle sports. And so I believe, and we are confident that some of these will become available at the local level, but we have been doing some interesting tie-ins with brands, and we've been able to re-expose audiences that are seeing national ads on Thursday Night Football for the brand, and then create local level campaigns off of those shared audiences. So that's another thing we're going to talk about here momentarily with Dina and Amber. So just be aware that we've got a lot of exciting things coming. We're not stopping when it comes to live sports, and eventually we'll have some great local options for you to take advantage of as well. Um, Okay, so now that we've got great content, we know we've got really engaged users throughout their day. Let's talk a little bit about where and when people are most leaned in. So when people are most leaned in is super important to be aware of. It's not just important to reach them in the content that they love, but it's how we're reaching them, right? So when it comes to Prime Video, about 33% of all content is consumed during those peak hours of 7 and 11 p.m. Eastern time. So it skews a little bit later for the West Coast, obviously, but that's really the bulk of content. And we find that our customers are watching programming in about a 40-minute increment and just under 2 hours, 1.89 hours per day. And then what they're actually watching it on in terms of screen time is that next slide. 86% of all of the ads shown across Amazon Prime and our streaming options are done so on full-size TV screen. So when you think about a connected TV in the household, these are 40-inch, 50-inch, 60-inch, high def, non-skippable, really big, glossy, premium TV commercials. So this is not your typical on a small device, on a mobile phone, on a laptop. These are actually sit down with your family and consume and watch content on a TV screen. So the last real stat that I want to give is just on that same note of sitting down on the couch and actually consuming television. Ad load is a measurement where Amazon right now is absolutely dominating. So we are very focused on our customer obsession. It's one of our pillars of our company. And so we've taken a very conservative approach to how many commercials we load into 1 hour of content. So we really try to limit that ad load, keeping commercial breaks shorter and less frequent. And our current ad load is 2 to 3.5 minutes per hour of programming. But by comparison, if you think about Hulu, they're at 11 minutes. And you think about the traditional linear cable buy, there are 18 minutes per hour of commercials. And so as a viewer, that's really a significant difference. And I think this is one of my favorite call outs because I appreciated it even before working at Amazon. And maybe you've noticed it too as you're consuming content on different streaming services. It just feels better because you don't have as many interruptions. They're shorter, fewer, farther in between. So the actual ad is able to cut through the clutter and it feels more relevant to the things in my life that obviously I need or I have been shopping for. And it helps your ad to stand out and it's not as disruptive to your actual enjoyment of what you're consuming outside of the ad. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. The ad load is something that we take very seriously at Amazon. This next slide is also unique to Amazon in the sense that we are the second largest to the DMV registration database in the US of all vehicles in households throughout the country. So if you've ever bought a part or an accessory on Amazon, you were asked at some point to put in your year, make, and model of your vehicle. And so if you're looking for wipers or floor mats, well, you probably started with entering that data. We've been able to maintain that garage data and build it up to quite a few cars in there, 190 million today. And so just so you are, I guess, able to kind of wrap your head around what that means is we're able to use that data and leverage it. As a marketer, it's important to put your ads in front of the people who are either already in market because they own your vehicle and might be looking for some additional parts or accessories, or we're able to really help you identify who might be looking to come over to your brand. That would be shopping and cross shopping. So a really interesting way to get involved with your agencies and help build those audiences so that we're going after the right person from the start. And speaking of accuracy, so we're big on accuracy here. The next slide just is the kind of the crux of it all. So what's one thing we actually know that a lot of advertisers don't? We know where people are getting their groceries and packages delivered. So a physical address versus an IP address is actually a big advantage when placing your marketing dollars because it allows us to accurately locally target at the dealer level. And so most importantly for some of you who represent luxury brands, this is important because some families co-locate and have multiple houses throughout the United States, might travel quite a bit, and so they might be cross-shopping a vehicle in an area where they don't have their IP address associated, but they are actually residing there with their family and they might live there part-time. So just a couple of things to think about. We know exactly where that ad should be placed. We also know how to place those ads if that person might be out of town. So a lot of people travel for work and their IP might change as they're moving throughout the country based on different offices or things they're doing. So again, just another really accurate way to make sure that your ad spend super efficient. And if I leave you with
Yeah, I
any,
definitely don't want to understate that.
oh,
Just to
thank you.
like prop that slide up a little bit more. I think it, if you really think about how we interact with the Amazon app and how I enter my information because, I'm getting my subscribe and saves. I'm getting like we always know who to target regardless of where they are. It's always accurate based on that primary shipping address. So I just want to highlight that again for you, Marty. It's I think it's such a critical piece of why Amazon is successful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, all right. I think the last one here is probably a little bit self-explanatory for all of us who've been in automotive long enough to know these life events do trigger car purchases, but we did a study. Amazon loves to make sure we're accurate. And we certainly proved through this Kantar study that 75% of vehicle purchases are tied to one of these life events. So through our billions of data signals throughout our entire Amazon network, which we referenced earlier, and we can see when our customers are moving through these big life moments. They're purchasing things for their first apartment, maybe their first big home, or they're ordering diapers for the first time. I know I live in New York City now, but I used to live in the Motor City. And as a first time homeowner, my garage was finally big enough for that F-150. So you better bet that was my first purchase after getting a home, was a trading in my lease and getting a big pickup truck. And for the Costco hauls and for my furniture habit, it was perfect. But once I moved to New York City and had my son, it was time to downsize and get an SUV. So shortly after ordering diapers for the first time on Amazon, I was the person now looking for an SUV. So I can relate to it. I have countless friends and family who have the same story. So 75% of vehicle purchases tied to one of these events. The important thing here is to know that at Amazon, we're committed to making sure that that audience data is made available to you as an advertiser in a safe and private way, which is following all laws and making sure that that privacy is so paramount to our customers, but also so paramount to them being targeted for the things that they might be in market for at the right time, because that adds to the experience of being a Prime user, watching content on our platforms, and certainly being a Prime member shopping throughout all of the Amazon properties. So again, these are just really great stats that help reinforce why we're committed to bringing this to market. And by leveraging partners like Dina at L2T and her team and the Cognition team behind the scenes, we're really happy about being here today. So anyway, to be continued. We'll have some questions and answers at the end, but I'm going to pass things back to Dina.
Thanks, Marty. I
Yeah.
think it's really clear from hearing that information that there is so much data that Amazon has, and so you're able to really have a dramatic impact in your targeting and your advertising, leveraging that. I wanted to pivot and walk you through some dealer strategy and audience targeting and how you can also leverage your dealership's data and how the marriage of those two things is really what's going to be the best for your dealership. So the value of Amazon and L2T Media, powered by AutoAcuity, our technology, really has three core pillars. Messaging, which allows you to reach the right customer at the right time with messaging designed to convert. Multi-channel, allowing you to leverage 2+ ad types from multi-channel advertising to engage your shoppers at each stage of the buying cycle. And targeting. We want to leverage L2T's technology, which allows you to bring your dealership's first-party data into play and leverage Amazon's proprietary data to target customers effectively. So let's talk a little bit more about those three pillars. The first is messaging. We want to reach the right customer at the ideal time with messaging designed to convert. So we want to have branded logos and colors. We want to convey your personalized monthly message across all channels. And this can be L2T or dealer provided content, but making sure your brand is conveyed and making sure we're cohesive across channels is extremely important. We want to leverage 2+ ad types for multi-channel advertising to engage your shopper at each stage of the buying cycle. So a lot of times when people think about Amazon, their head goes straight to Prime, which is an extremely impactful way to advertise. But as Marty was explaining, Amazon is really part of a customer's entire daily journey. There are so many touch points there. So for our dealers to be effective, We recommend that they select 2+ ad types to make sure that they're reaching customers on that multi-channel journey. So display is going to allow you to showcase ads on high traffic websites. Streaming TV is going to reach viewers on their favorite shows and movies. Online video is going to engage audiences with web-based video content, and audio is going to connect with listeners on popular audio platforms. One sort of cool and unique thing about advertising on an Amazon Alexa is that it's interactive. So if you're listening to an audio ad on an Amazon Alexa, you can reply to your Alexa with a command, like send me more information about that, or other call to actions that can allow you to take action right with an audio ad, which is a super unique experience. So L2TMedia's Amazon targeting. This is a recommendation. You'll see things here on the right that really explain what Marty was sharing and how you can leverage that data. So first is the Amazon proprietary data, which uses the Amazon Garage and Amazon's predictive in-market auto. Next is remarketing. This is going to serve ads to reconnect with customers who previously visited your website. The third is location targeting. As Marty was explaining, we want to target shoppers at the household address level. Third-party data can be loaded in to complement the data you have, and geofencing. You can target consumers who have visited a competing dealership in the past 30 days. So some really unique offerings available. And then we want to pair that with Audience Pro, which will leverage data from your dealership's CRM, DMS, and website to target your customers effectively. So L2TMedia's Audience Pro provides data collection, hygiene, and activation across channels. So there's 3 key factors here. The first is data ingestion, which is where we're able to take your dealership's website data, CRM data, and DMS data and pull them into our system. Step 2 is hygiene and segmentation. We want to deduplicate those records, clean them, and segment them into audiences. And 3 is activation. We want to activate those audiences in your media channels, including Amazon. Let's talk about a couple examples of what that would look like. So here's a new vehicle example for a CDJR dealership who wants to focus on Ram trucks. In our audience creation, we're going to take some cues from customers. Maybe they viewed a new truck VDP page on the website. Maybe they have a lease expiring soon. Maybe someone else purchased a truck 3 years ago and someone else previously submitted a website lead for a truck. Those signals, amongst many others, are going to create our new truck audience. That audience is then going to get applied to whatever media channels this dealership is doing. One great application would be multiple different Amazon advertising channels. The next is customer actions. We're looking for actions that we're used to seeing. We're looking for form fills, phone calls, texts, chats, and ultimately, we're looking for vehicles sold. Here's a service example. Service can be really impactful as well. Audience creation selection would look like someone purchased a car 6 to 18 months ago. Someone visited the service specials page on the website, and somebody had their tires rotated 6 to 12 months ago. Those, among other actions, will make up our service audience. We will then take that audience and drop it into whatever media channel the dealership is utilizing, and we will look for online scheduled service appointments and ultimately look at closed service ROs. Now I want to pivot to measurement and attribution. I'm going to pass it over to Amber, but I wanted to kind of close the loop on the audience data that we were just talking about. Because we have the ability now to pull in your DMS records, we can plot that activity into our L2T performance dashboard at the model specific level. This allows us to take a look. This is a CDJR dealer in Houston. We can actually see month to date. They've sold 90 vehicles. 2 of them are Wranglers. We can see where those Wranglers were sold and layer on targeting that corresponds with the specific ad. So this is really helpful because it allows us to take the data to target, but then also use that same data to make informed decisions to be able to evaluate ROI. Speaking of ROI, I'll let Amber explain some of the sales attribution.
Perfect. Thank you, Dina. So we've talked about Amazon, why Amazon, and Dina took us through audience targeting and how L2T plays a critical role in, outlining the perfect strategy. And next, what we want to do is take you through, you know, the proof, right? I think one thing that we struggle with in this industry is defensibility, and this solves this problem. So through L2T, you're able to see uh, ad exposure to vehicle sales. So we know people who saw ads and purchased vehicles. So this report is powered by two different data sets. The first is bulk data. For those of you who are aware, that is vehicle registration data, OEM RDR data. So it gives us a really robust data set to report sales or match sales against ad campaign, ad exposures to tell that full story. The other piece of this puzzle that we're able to tell a story on is the competitor view. Because we are ingesting that data set, you can self-select your competitors in your market, and we can measure their performance as well. So if you're choosing, Amber's Nissan is the dealer that is advertising, I can choose 5 of Amber's Nissan competitors, and we can start to give you perspective on how much share you're gaining. The secondary piece to this report is the advertiser ad share, which is my personal favorite. It gives us the ability to tell the story of people who are seeing your ads and either buying from you or buying from your competitors. And I think that's such a critical piece of information to use to drive your strategy further and start to turn the dials to make these ad exposed sales go up. So moving on to the second type of report that you get, and this is something that sets L2T apart. So L2T is pulling DMS data and pulling leads data, and we're able to pipe this into the advertiser reported sales report. This gives us a full picture of what the dealership is selling in more real time. So these are, full results for that specific dealer. We can get a little more granular with the metrics we're reporting and total sales, ad exposed sales. You can see that cost per sale. I think that's a huge data point to keep in mind as we start to turn those dials from each campaign. Perfect. Something else that really sets L2T apart, from my perspective, is their ability to build this journey. So through the Amazon tech stack, we're able to essentially see someone who was exposed to, we'll call it a Prime Video streaming ad, something that doesn't really have a clickable capability. We can see when they were exposed to an ad. And because of that, we now have the ability to know when that person has visited a dealer website. And I think we've found some really interesting insights through this technology. What we're finding is about 30% of what Google is deeming as paid search traffic or organic traffic is really driven by that action of seeing an ad on through the Amazon, network of publishers and taking an action to do that search. So I think this is, just the second phase of telling that story about how effective this media type is and how it really does drive vehicle sales and action through your customer base. Perfect.
I want to walk you through a case study. I'll let you share this, Amber. This is real results from a real L2TMedia customer, and just wanted to dig a little bit deeper for you guys.
Yeah, happy to jump through this. So this was just a really good example, and I think one of the first that we started measuring with attribution, this auto group. I can't remember how many stores. I think it was 10 stores total. Is that right?
Yes, correct. 10. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. But 300, you can see the trend line going up. So it was a modest investment, resulted in a total of 71 sales that matched to ad exposures through their ad campaign. So, that it's such a good story to tell because you're winning. You're winning in this scenario. And you can even, the fact that you can tell this story, I think is a huge leg up on your competition because you are leveraging that full, capabilities from the Amazon platform. And this is just some perspective on the volume. You can see this by dealer. So this is that competitive dealer set that we talked about in the previous slide. Any of the dealers that I've selected, I can actually see what percentage of sales were reported by that competitor. And of those sales, how many of those were exposed to an ad and bought a vehicle? Again, super valuable information. As you can see, almost every competitor has some sale that was exposed to an ad from this Virginia Auto Group advertising campaign. So an incredible story to tell.
Now is a great time to submit your questions. I know some of you have been submitting them. I've been seeing them come in. L2T marketing team, would you mind reading off some of the questions and then Marty, Amber, or myself will just jump in and answer them?
The first question in the chat says, how does Amazon OTT advertising compare in cost to other streaming platforms like Hulu, Roku, or YouTube?
I don't know if who wants to jump in, but of course I can't help myself.
Go ahead. Go
You
ahead.
know, I would say, that's an interesting question that comes in a lot. I see that a lot, just comparing other DSPs. And the thing I will say about the Amazon DSP is one, you can activate almost any publisher through Amazon. There's DV360, which is YouTube TV that you can't access, and Netflix. Outside of that, you're gaining access to almost every other publisher that exists in the ecosystem. Because of that, we're able to, the way I would think about this is what kind of inventory am I buying? What kind of action? Not necessarily the cost, but we talked about the attribution. Like, I don't know about you, but I would rather pay a higher cost per CPM for, I don't know, whatever publisher is producing the outcomes that I want, which are vehicle transactions. So I know it's kind of like not exactly answering your question, but I wanted to get that point out there. The other piece of this is thinking about how are you blending those publishers to drive that cost down to get the right outcomes overall by publisher. And L2T can help you curate, those inventory bundles that make sense for your needs and the outcomes that you have in mind.
Helpful. Thanks, Amber.
Another question just came in regarding DSPs. Someone said, I don't see Netflix or Hulu on the list of publishers. Do your dealers running OTT with Amazon ever express concerns about not reaching those audiences?
I think here I go again. But Netflix is an interesting one, and it kind of goes back to the previous question. I can't see the question, so I don't know who asked it, but Netflix cost per thousand is kind of insane right now. So it's not been something I think people are talking about it. There's not a ton of inventory. So I think they're just sort of, going through this phase of maturity and figuring out who they want to be as an ad platform. So that's what I would say for Netflix, and that's my opinion. As far as Hulu, you can absolutely activate Hulu through a DSP, yeah, or Amazon DSP, which is another acronym for you. So no issues there. You do have access to it, and we could easily provide you a list of, I think, publishers that you can't access through Amazon is the easiest way to tell that story rather than the robust list of who can. So we can easily pass that over to Dina and Kate on the L2T team so that they can distribute that out.
Thanks, Amber.
Great, thank you. And then we have another question that just came in. Someone from a dealership wants to know how many Amazon Garage customers are in Las Vegas or in a particular region.
I don't happen to know that off the top of my head, but I am happy to do the research and send that over to you. If you want to
The
send a
research is
specific.
actually really cool. So the anyone who's on here that's interested in the next step, reach out to L2T and say what brand and market you're interested in, and we can ask the Amazon team, and they can pull some really cool data that tells you the opportunity available in that market by brand, and it can break out to like the channels. And that's how we curate for you, like what channels we think are necessary. In an ideal world, you'd run on every available Amazon channel there is, but we know budget's not unlimited. So we want to say to you, we think that these two channels will give you the best ROI, and here's what to expect with that. So it's a great next step if there's anyone at all interested, is we can get that for you.
Yeah, and Amazon, or sorry, and L2T is actually one of the only providers that has specially curated garage audiences that they can utilize in the DSP. So more to come on that. I kind of spilled the beans on something new that's coming to market, but I think it's a good conversation to have and sets L2T apart using those new segments. And by segments, I mean owners of, I don't know, Volvo or BMW in certain markets.
That's great. Thank you guys. And then last question, switching to strategy, Dina. How many video campaigns do your dealers typically run per month?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say two is probably pretty standard, but it does depend on your budget. We never want you to be spread too thin. And I wouldn't ever just think of video in a silo as well. I would say two plus activated channels is always going to get you the best results. And we can output for you, like we were just sharing, like what a budget recommendation would look like to reach that market. And then we can always scale back depending on what budget you have in mind and then recommend the channels. But I would say two is pretty standard, and dealers want to get their monthly like incentive video out there to push offers. So usually having one that's a little more branded focus and one that's a little more incentive focused tends to work well.
Thanks,
I did
Dina.
get a count. I did get an Amazon garage count for Las Vegas. My team is listening
Fast.
and just shot this over. So over 2 million vehicles in the Amazon garage in the Las Vegas, I think DMA.
Well,
Great, thank you. And a big thank you to Dina, Amber, and Marty for today's presentation. That's all the questions we have for today, but thank you guys.
You're so
Yeah,
welcome.
thanks for
Thanks for
having
having
us.
we will send out a recording of this webinar. Feel free to send us questions that came up after the fact, and feel free to share this with other team members. We would love to have the opportunity to talk to you about how to leverage Amazon and your first party data for a really robust strategy for your dealership. Thanks, everyone.